Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right, today we are going to be, by the way, my name is Liaquat, if you guys don't know. And today we are going to be answering a question here. Did the early Arabs know grammar? No grammar. Did the early Arabs know grammar? Yes, no, and also other sciences as well related to that. So, let me just give you a little background understanding regarding Arabic. So, when we say Arabic, what we're actually talking about is we're talking about several branches of Arabic studies. So, one is the linguistic meanings of words. Yeah, so you got linguistic meaning of words. So what does each word mean? You got like the roots of the words. You got different forms of words, right? You got different sort of like background of the verbs, words and verbs as well. And you also got the different uses. Okay, so one is to do with linguistics. Second is to do with verbs. Yeah, or verbs. So when we talk about verbs, what we're actually looking for is in Arabic, we're looking at the past, we're looking at present, we're looking at future, we're looking at commands, prohibition, and so forth. Okay, so these are, you study this, it's a science itself. You have to study the different types of words. It's not like English, where in English you can have a word and you kind of figure out what the verbs are. In Arabic, you kind of have to work out for many verbs this kind of like sequence. Then you have something which is known as nahu. Right, so nahu is to do with finding out nahu. This is to do with the grammar, right? Simply, to put it simple, is you want to find out the position of the word in a sentence. You want to find out the vowels. You want to find out structure of a sentence, structure, and so forth, right? So this is where you study, like for example, when you have a word, for example, like al-kitab, right, and you want to know the ending of that word. Ending, does it end with one of these symbols or one of these symbols, or does it end with one of these symbols or whatever? Yeah, so that is what you study in Nahu. Whereas in the verbs one, which is known as sarf, you actually study, for example, like if you want to say he wrote, you say kataba, right? Kataba. But if you want to say I wrote, you say katabtu, right? So it kind of changes. If you want to say we, then you say katabna, and so forth. So this adjustment that's made, right, in these verbs, and additions are added onto it. And then you have science, which is known as Balagha. So Balagha is more to do with the expressions, the way things are expressed, expressions, and you've got sequences of words, sequencing, and you've got like metaphors, similes, etc. Word, what can you put there? You can say word, the impact, certain sentences have on the reader, and so forth. So all these things have actually, and there's much more as well. But all of these things are the main sort of four areas. Linguistics will probably come under more like literal sort of like sciences, which we can possibly call adab, Arabic adab, right? So you study the linguistics. Now, people study this kind of stuff. When you go to a madrasa or anything, you kind of study all of these kind of things. But the thing you have to remember is this actually went through an entire sort of development historically. So imagine, let's say for instance, let's say you had, this is a historical timeline, and let's say this is where, let's say Islam came about, right? Let's just put the 0 there, and then you have like 100, 200, 300, and then all the way until, let's say, 1400, where we are. Yeah, so we are around about here. Okay, so let's just put a little stick man there for us. So what's basically happened is all these sciences throughout history have been developed. So for example, like the Sarf science and Nahu science actually came about around about here, right? Nahu as well roughly came about around about here as well, same time. Balagha may have come a bit later on, you can see right here. But the thing is, all these sciences have been being developed, right? So over the years, scholars have been developing, they're writing books, and likewise when it comes to Nahu as well, Arabic grammar, writing books, and when it comes to Balagha, they've been writing books. So there's been like this whole sort of like codification, you can say codification of these sciences, right? So codification has been done. Lots and lots and lots and lots of literature has been written on this, right? So you study all these kind of things. Linguistics, on the other hand, this is more to do with the adab, you can say adab. So the poetry that has actually existed all the way from early years, that's existed. That has the adab, poetry. This includes poetry. This includes things like just normal Arab writing, etc. So the question that arises, like we said, did early Arabs know this kind of stuff? So they technically did. So early Arabs, let's put early Arabs there. So put loads of early Arabs. Did they know grammar? Well, see, they knew it because grammar and all of these sciences are actually deduced from the texts. So imagine, for example, like you want to, why is it that all of these sciences are coming about in this era? Simply because of the Quran, right? The Quran was revealed, and now to preserve the Quran, we need to be able to preserve the Arabic language that existed around this era. So this era, the Arabic language that existed, we want to preserve this, and more precisely, it was about up to here, right? You can draw the cutoff line over here. This area is a bit of a dubious area, but this area up to here. So from here all the way up to here, this area was the fertile time to understand the language. So all text and poetry and everything, right, was actually studied at this time. And then from there, the scholars extrapolated from the Quran and from Arabic poetry and early Arabic to understand how the language functions. So these people actually knew the Arabic language very, very well, right? Because it's their language. Just like, for example, if someone comes to you, you know English very well, but they didn't know the codification, because codification was something that came later on. It wasn't needed at their time, right? It was needed later on. Why? So it was needed for people who wanted to study Arabic, study Arabic at a progressive level. Like, if you want to progress, so you want to study at a progressive level, you have to kind of go through this kind of system of learning the rules and how it's structured. And the Arabic language is extremely amazing when it comes to structure. It's just brilliantly structured, the Arabic languages. So now, if anyone in this area wants to understand the Arabic of this era, what they'd have to do is go through the codification, right, from beginners to intermediate to advanced, and then they'll be able to reach the level and understand how Arabic was spoken and understood, and expressions and all of these things of this era. Not the Arabic of later era. Later era Arabic is not necessarily a representative of the Arabic of this era. So this is why I said that early Arabs, they didn't know the codification, but they did know all the rules that were embedded in that language. They knew them. Now, let me give an example. I mean, this is something which, let me just get another piece of paper. This is just something which many of us kind of like have asked this question probably in the past, but we haven't really kind of had a good sort of way to explain it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to explain it to you guys so you guys understand. Right? So, okay, so example I give is like this. Imagine there's a village. Okay, and in this village lives an old lady. This old lady, let's call her Zainab. So Zainab, she basically now has made a beautiful dish. A beautiful dish. And this beautiful dish now, she has disappeared. Now all the chefs in the world, all the people in the world, they all come and they want to learn how she has done this. They want to kind of figure it out. She's made this amazing dish no one's ever seen before in their lives. And so what are they going to do? They want to preserve this. How are they going to work it out? They don't know how she's done it, right? So they're going to figure it out. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be codifying now. So let's say one guy, he tries to figure out all the ingredients. So he comes out with all possible ingredients. Another guy might come out with all different methods of cutting the ingredients. Another guy might come out with all methods of heating or maybe cooking. Another guy might come out with different methods of mixing. Another guy might come out with different methods of, separating or peeling or anything. So all of these guys, let's say now over history, they start to develop all these kind of lists. So he writes a book or several books on ingredients, and he writes books on cutting, and he writes books on, something else. So all these guys now that have actually come about, if they were to say, well, did this woman know all of these things? I mean, she didn't know that all these names and terminology, the terms, right? Then the names, the words, and so forth. She didn't know all of these things because they are all invented afterwards, after her. But she would, if you explain it to her, she would know exactly what you're talking about because that was her cooking. In other words, her cooking is what they're all trying to understand. So just like if you were to say, did she know all of these? Well, she didn't know all the names and terms, but she knew exactly how it worked and every single thing that was there, the essence, the core. She knew all of that. And it's the same thing when it comes to someone who is who's, for example, you know English, let's say, right? And if someone comes to you and says to you, when you say, for example, like, what? Yeah, what? Why is there a difference between when you say what in an angry tone and what in a happy tone? If you say what like this or you say what like this, why is there a difference for? Now maybe you don't know the difference, but you just say that's how I've learnt it. That's how I know it. But later on, someone might be able to deduce from this and say, okay, well, exclamation mark is used for this, and this is known as a comma, a question mark, and this is known as a question, etc. So the people that come later on, they generally codify things, right? They give it terms and things so they can understand, but you don't necessarily know that. So you might not know the rules and regulations that govern your language that you speak, but there might be people that know all this stuff. It does not mean that they know the language better than you. It's just simply you know the language firsthand without the terms and definitions, and they have learnt the language through the terms and definitions. So you've both reached the same point, which is to understand the language. And this is what we were talking about earlier on. So all these sciences that are actually studied, these are actually developed later on. Early people didn't know these terms and everything, but they did know the essence. So that's why when, for example, like someone in a ayah, for example, let's say, inna a'tayna kal kawthar. Okay, so someone takes out some grammar points and says, oh, this is a harf mushabbaha bil fi'al, and this is a past verb, and this is, jam mutakallim, which means we, and this is the pronoun. So they didn't know all these things. Definitely this is an object, maf'ul bihi. And then in Balagha, they might say, for example, or in Sarf, they might say this is from the pattern of if'al, or they might, say this is the pattern of Kawthar, Faw'al, Faw'al, okay, or anything of that sort. Or Balagha points, maybe they might say this is Ta'keed, emphasis, there's ta'keed here. Yeah, there's a jumla fi'liya, which has the meaning of a jumla fi'liya, which is the meaning of something temporary, fi'liya. And the kawthar, this is for definition. So they didn't know all of these things, but if you told them this sentence, they could tell the difference between this sentence and between, let's say, someone wrote something like this: a'taynaka al-kawthar. They know the difference between that and that, and they know the difference between nu'tika al-kawthar. Yeah, which those who know English and they don't know Arabic wouldn't be able to tell what we're talking about here. But point is that they knew these kind of things. So okay, anyway, so Jazakallah khair. I hope you guys have benefit from this and this makes sense. If you have any sort of questions related to these kind of things or any other topics, let me know, inshallah, and I will try to make a video on this. And subscribe to my channel, check out the videos. If you want to learn about Arabic, I've got courses on Arabic as well, 17 lessons that you guys can subscribe to and register for. And subscribe, hit the bell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair, guys, for all of your support. Without your support, I wouldn't have been able to produce the videos that I've put up on my YouTube channel. And there is so much more that I really want to do. And without the support of you guys who are patrons, generously supporting this channel, I've been able to get myself a camera, which, as you guys can see, the quality of this camera, a mic system, software. I've been able to hire an editor. So what do I want to do? I want to make lots and lots and lots of more videos for beginners, for intermediate, advanced, in the subjects like Arabic and fiqh and hadith and tafsir and aqidah and all those other things as well. And for this to happen, again, this channel needs support. So if you guys want to become patrons and support this channel, then check out the link below. Also, if you do become patrons, you'll have access to videos that I don't put up on my normal YouTube channel. So check that out, inshallah. And there's most other perks as well that you guys can benefit from. And if you want to access this channel through social media, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, Facebook page, and other things as well that you can visit. So Jazakumullah khair again, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for watching this video. I hope to see all of you guys. If you guys are interested, please leave us feedback, get in contact with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.